Greetings Keyforgers and welcome back. I hope you are all well. We have a Worlds Collide 2-player starter set. Yes, I know. I'm still waiting on my Winds of Exchange pledge. I did see that someone did receive the 2-player starter set, so I know that there's now nothing they don't have prepared. So I would assume shipping will start pretty quickly. Okay, these are not in the box. We have 2 decks. Aquilin K. Mistus the 9th, and Alyx Goldilocks Rocketfang. That sounds awesome. I'm going to open that one first. They've both got Untamed and logos. This one has Star Knights, that one has Shadows. This will be our next video. We have Squid Archon here. That would be a good Unfathomable Archon, actually. Okay, let's get into this. There's a close-up of that Archon there. Bottom card coming out, turning over. We are starting with Untamed. Creed of Nurture is an artifact. Omni ability, sacrifice Creed of Nurture. If you do, reveal a creature from your hand and choose a creature in play. For the remainder of the turn, the chosen creature gains the text box of the revealed creature. Panpakajaga, 3 power with Skirmish. Creatures to the left of Panpakajaga in the battle line gain Skirmish. Mimicry is an action. When you play this card, treat it as a copy of an action card in your opponent's discard pile. Grasping Vines is an action. You get an amp when you play it. Play, return up to 3 artifacts to their owner's hands. Unsuspecting Prey is another action. Play, deal 2 damage to up to 3 undamaged creatures. A second Unsuspecting Prey. A third Unsuspecting Prey. And a 4th Unsuspecting Prey. Okay, that might be excessive. The Fittest is an action. You get an amp when you play it. Play, give each friendly creature a +1 power counter. Just to confirm, we have 1 creature so far that gives other creatures Skirmish. There's another creature, Rustnora, 4 power. Fight, destroy an artifact. If that artifact had an amber bonus, you gained that much amber. Molfin, 3 power, hazardous 3. After amber is stolen from you, deal 1 damage to each enemy creature for each amber stolen. Harmonia, 2 power, elusive. After you play a creature, if there are more enemy creatures than friendly creatures, gain 1 amber. And now moving on to Star Alliance. We Can All Win is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, keys cost -2 amber until the end of your next turn. Tactical Officer Moon, 4 power with Assault 2. Play, you may rearrange the creatures in a player's battle line. Ooh, Science Officer Morpheus, 2 power, 1 armor. After you play a creature with a play effect, trigger its play effect an additional time. So we've already got that Tactical Officer Moon. Rearrange 2 battle lines. Helmsman Spears, 2 power, fight Reap. Discard any number of cards from your hand. Draw a card for each card discarded this way. Second Helmsman Spears. Force Field is an upgrade. You get an amp when you play it. This creature gains Reap, ward this creature. We need some play effects, come on. Science Officer Quincan, 2 power, elusive. After a player chooses an active house which matches no cards in play, steal 1 amber. Second Science Officer Quincan. Medic Ingram, 3 power, play fight Reap. You may heal 3 damage from a creature and ward it. A second Medic Ingram. First Officer Fran, 4 power. Play, fight, Reap. A friendly creature captures 1 amber. Cloaking Dongle is an upgrade. You get an amber when you play it. This creature and each of its neighbours gains elusive. And finally on to Logos. Quantum Finger Trap is an artifact. You get an amber when you play it. Action, swap the position of 2 creatures in a battle line. Positron Bolt is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, deal 3 damage to a flank creature. Deal 2 damage to its neighbour. Deal 1 damage to the second creature's other neighbour. Jar Goggle, 2 power, elusive. Play, put a card from your hand face down under Jar Goggle. Destroyed, if it is your turn, play the card under Jar Goggle. Otherwise, archive that card. Data Forge is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, you may forge a key at +10 current cost, reduced by 1 amber for each card in your hand. Works with We Can All Win there. Candle Unit, 5 power, 1 armor. After an enemy creature reaps, draw a card. Action, capture one. Very nice with Keyforge there. Twin Bolt Emission is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, deal 2 damage to a creature and deal 2 damage to a different creature. Quant, 3 power. Reap, you may play 1 non-logos action card this turn. Igor, 2 power. Play, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand and discard the others. A second Igor. Cutthroat Research is an action. You get an amber when you play it. Play, steal 2 amber if your opponent has 8 amber or more. Babbling Bibliophile, 1 power. Reap, draw 2 cards. A second Babbling Bibliophile. And there we have it. Okay, let's take a closer look. Well, Keyforgers, this might be one of the shortest deck reviews I do. Whew, this deck. It had 10 printed amber, which isn't bad. It had a whopping 20 creatures though. 12 actions, 2 artifacts and 2 upgrades. If we start with amber control, Cutthroat Research, steal 2 if your opponent has 8 or more. Not really that efficient. We had the candle unit, action capture 1. Could also be placed under efficiency because it's got that passive effect of after an enemy creature reaps, draw a card. Your opponent tends to forget about it until you start drawing your first card, then they take it out. In Star Alliance we had First Officer Fran, play, fight, reap, a friendly creature captures 1. Little bit of synergy there with our Science Officer Morpheus. And then we had 2 Science Officer Quincan, 2 power elusive. After a player chooses an active house which matches no cards in play, steal 1. Now having 2 is good. Late game, they're a little less efficient. 1, because they're squishy when it comes to direct damage, and 2, because there's usually a card of each house out in play, because artifacts, upgrades tend to count as well. Well, they don't tend to count, they do count. So, no scaling amber control, no huge drops that we can affect in our opponent's amber totals, so amber control, not that great. When it comes to expected amber, anything which had steal, so those Science of Quincans, could be used as expected amber. Apart from that, we had Harmonia. 2 power elusive, after you play a creature, if there are more enemy creatures than friendly creatures, gain 1 amber. Now, we've got 20 creatures. The likelihood of that happening? Not great. The only other 2 things I could really find were the weaken or win to lower key cost by 2 until the end of our next turn, which may help us pull off. A Data Forge. Action, amber when you play it. Play, you may forge a key at +10 current cost, reduced by 1 amber for each card in your hand. Now, if keys cost 6, we've minused it by 2, so it's 4, plus 10 is 14, minus the cards in your hand. Say you had 5. Because you played Data Forge, it's still a lot to forge a key. We do have ways of drawing cards. That's probably going to be the main objective for this deck, is how many cards can we get in our hand? Because the expected amber with 20 creatures is predominantly coming from reaping. We do have artifact control. We have Grasping Vines, soft artifact control there. 1 amber, return up to 3 artifacts to their owner's hands. We have 2. The only one that has an amber pip is the Quantum Finger Trap, so we could return it to our hand, but it would be an untamed turn, so we're chaining ourselves. We can play it on a Star Alliance turn, because we do have the Quant. And Creed of Nature does not have an amber pip. We have Rust Nora, 4 power, fight, destroy an artifact. If that artifact had an amber bonus, you gain that much amber. We have Quantum Finger Trap. It's not the best artifact. And a push, I would destroy it for an amber pip. Creature control, again, no board wipes. I put the Jagger in there purely because it gives each creature to the left of it skirmish. That could help if we're trying to keep our opponent's battle line in check. But we have 4, and I mean 4, unsuspecting prey. Deal 2 damage to up to 3 undamaged creatures, which is quite good because we don't have to deal it if we don't want to. It says up to 3 undamaged creatures. We could choose 0. We had the Molefin. Hazardous 3. After amber is stolen from you, deal 1 damage to each enemy creature for each amber stolen. If your opponent doesn't remember it, it hits hard and then Molfin goes away, because they usually take him out. We had Positron Bolt, the 3-2-1 from a flank in Logos, and then we had Twin Bolt Emission, 2 damage to a creature and 2 damage to a different creature. Now I should point out we have 1 5-power creature, 2 4-power creatures, and the rest of our creatures are 3 power, 2 power, or 1. Our battle line is not going to be hench. It's low-powered creatures. So we've really got to try and forcefully pull off that Data Forge if we can. Which brings us to efficiency. We have 2 Babbling Bibliophiles. 1 power, reap, draw 2 cards. If they stay on the board for a turn, fantastic. We could use our artifact Creed of Nature to make one of our creatures have reap, draw 2 cards if we wanted to do it on a Logos turn, because it's an Omni ability, and that will allow us to use that reap ability without playing it, because if it's played, it's exhausted. We could obviously play it after, but that's just something we could use. We could also use that with the Igor. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand and discard the others. We have the Quant. Reap, you may play 1 non-Logos action card this turn. The Jar Goggle for storing a card. I don't particularly know what we would store under that. Maybe the Data Forge, but that's risky. Though if it's taken out on our opponent's turn, we do get to archive it. We had 2 Helmsman Spears. Fight Reap, discard any number of cards from your hand. Draw a card for each discarded card this way. That's a cycle. There's 2 of them. It's okay. We kind of want cards in our hand to play Data Forge. What we could do is, if we'd drawn a lot of cards and we didn't have the Data Forge, we could use a Helmsman Spears to draw that many other cards and hopefully draw into the Data Forge. And then obviously that Science Officer Morpheus. We do have some okay play effects, but nothing like an Infernus or anything like that, which is going to be game changing. The Candle unit obviously counts in efficiency because it has that when your opponent's creatures reap, draw a card. There was no recursion. The only disruption was the Grasping Vines. The other cards in the deck didn't really count towards anything. I mean, if you think, we had the Finger Trap, we had the Cloaking Dongle, which is a nice bit of protection. The 2 Medic Ingrams will be really good. Putting those wards on those Babbling Bibliophiles would be quite nice. We had Force Field to ward a creature. Tactical Officer Moon, which kind of has a built-in Quantum Finger Trap. And the Fittest. Give each friendly creature a +1 power counter, which is okay. It does boost up our battle line a bit. If you've got the Pound Packer Jagger out, that does make us a little bit more effective because we'll have Skirmish. The only other card which can actually be pretty epic would be Mimicry. And that's always going to be epic because you can copy an action card from your opponent's discard pile. That usually means they've played it on you, but sometimes maybe they might have discarded it. The deck itself, I don't think is competitive at all. I think you could have some fun trying to pull that Data Forge off, and I think it'd be epic when you do. Dexter Keyforge didn't rate it too high either. It came out at a 55. I will leave a link in the description if you want to take it for a run on the Crucible. Let's hope the second deck out of that box is a bit better. All that remains for me to say is good luck, have fun, keep forging.